All right, welcome back to another Genetic Harmony New Awarenesses for New Impact Live. Today, Merry post-Christmas, everyone. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa. I don't know if that's the correct way to say that, but enjoy the merry, happies, and brights as we are in that spot between the launch of all of the winter holidays and the beginning of the new year, which is a perfect time to talk about how we can leverage this new genetic awareness and use it tangibly daily to impact how we are manifesting our DNA. I'm going to give you more details on that. So let's talk today about decoding your personality DNA. We're going to gain a foundational understanding of how genetic predispositions influence your personality traits and emotions. We're going to keep this very baseline basic today so that we're going to use universal language. And if you would like more, like specific SNPs, SNPs, that may be impacted in this, come let us know. We have whole bunches of this in the course for the Genetic Edge coaching at the Genetic Harmony course. Okay, let's start with some baseline basic fundamentals. Each of us has a unique genetic code, a DNA sequence that influences everything from our physical attributes to the subtleties of our personality. And while genes do not dictate every aspect of who we are, they do set certain predispositions. This may include natural energy levels, how you respond to stress, or even your social behaviors. Today, we will explore how your genetic blueprint shapes your emotional and behavioral tendencies. Think of your emotions as your artist palette. The genes provide the base colors, red, yellow, blue. While your life experiences are what we use to blend them into your unique masterpiece. So a little behind the scenes, genes specifically influence neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. These three are what most SNPs are either helping you produce, regulate, or process. Okay, so again, serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. These are the magic three. These chemicals regulate happiness, motivation, and connection. So very, very much all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions fall within this swath. So I want you to think of them as your color palette. We're going to do serotonin is going to be the calm blues, right? The blue palette. That's where what affects our calmness, our resilience. Variations in serotonin related genes lead to predispositions of either worry or tranquility. Yes, both of those. That's the whole magic of the double-edged swords of neurotransmitters. Depending on how your body is processing, regulating, and controlling them, either you tend towards worry or you tend towards that tranquil calm. And what you choose to do, knowing that, can change it. Dopamine. I love dopamine. Dopamine is those energizing yellow colors. Those are going to be linked to your motivation, that rewards thinking. I always think of dopamine as like those gold coins from the Mario Brothers games. Also, I just dated myself probably. Genetic differences in dopamine may influence how driven you are or just how restless you're feeling. Oxytocin. Oxytocins are going to be the red palette or the warm pinks. That's that love hormone. And that's what's going to shape empathy and social bonding. Variations can impact trust and connection. Questions, comments, controversy. What popcorn into your heads, ladies? Anything? Okay, we're going to go straight into an activity because that's really where that's the magic of understanding this part of the Genetic Edge course, is because this is where we start to see how the SNPs, the SNPs, our genes, can be regulated by our choices and not just by the predisposition. So first, we're going to start with a little reflection. take a look inward to yourself and your natural tendencies. How do I feel when facing challenges? Do you feel excited, engaged, like this is a thing I get to tear apart? Do you show up to the challenge, you're like, okay, it's cool. It's cool. I'm fine. This is great. I'm ready. Do you show up to a challenge like, oh, well, what if I look at it from this direction? Oh, and then what about from, fascinating. What naturally comes to your brain when the word challenge shows up, or when you go back and think about facing your own challenges? Take a minute to internalize that, throw it into the chat, or come off of mic and off mute and go ahead and share.
I'd have to say some challenges are exciting and, curious. Other ones can be anxious and concerning and nerve-wracking kind of thing. So it just depends, I guess, at what it is.
I
So
would agree with that. Yeah, that it really depends. What do you think for you, because my answer may be different, but for you, what do you think is the biggest difference between the challenges that you're like, oh, this is an exciting opportunity versus the ones that you're like,
I guess the ones that I'm not as comfortable are the unknown type. So that would be, more of a nervous, anxious feeling. But knowing that I have to, you know, do a certain task, that I'm anxious about, but I can do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is, I can do this, it'll be worthwhile at the end. And yeah, I'm a little nervous getting started, but I can go through and, see what I discover. So
Oh. What I heard there is the big difference for you is less the challenge itself, so much as how you feel about the challenge. Am I coming into it like, oh, I don't really want to do this, but I can? Or are you coming in like, I don't even know, like, where do I even begin?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. No, that totally tracks. Yeah. So I'm actually just going to use that. Kimberly, would you like to share anything or not at this point?
Well, for me, it really comes down to how stressed I am before the challenge happens. If I am not experiencing any stress and like life is awesome and things are going great, then I'm excited about whatever it might be, whether it's known, whether it's new, whatever,
Yeah.
or anything in between. But if I have a very high stress level, then my ability um, to see it as something less than more stress is diminished.
Yeah. So what I heard there is the reality that if your brain is open and in that growth space and everything is great, so you see the world as opportunities, well, then challenges become opportunities. But when you are buried under the weight of life, trying to look up at the next thing, you're like, you mean there's more? Yeah, I can see that in my life as well. Yeah, yeah. What I love about both of those, and what I would say for mine, is that when I'm facing challenges, it's that 100% how I step into it. And since I started doing the Genetic Edge course, one of the things that I noted in my life is that I could use the color palettes to change that, right? So if I am in a high stress space and I'm launching into doing something that I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm already coming in with a lot of the dark colors in my palette, but I can throw in a reward into that. If I just open my laptop, I get to have some coffee. Okay. Hmm. Right now it's lightened up because I threw a little bit of that yellow in there. Okay, okay, okay. And ooh, this is something, it's a tech thing. Whew, and anybody who's been here for 2.4 seconds knows that I just love tech so much and love having people who tech. So I can just use it. And so the moment I have to face a challenge that has tech, then I'm like, I'm gonna need a buddy. I'm gonna need maybe 3 buddies. And when I do that, well, then the pinks come in, right? Because that oxytocin comes in and I feel warmer and more lovey. And now I'm in this like orange zone that's both powerful but soft. And it really helps me When I am conscious and intentional of it, awareness is what allows impact. When I am intentional and aware of it, understanding what I need to bring in to change that experience for myself has been massively helpful. Okay, so the next one, same concept. What energizes versus drains you? I'm going to throw an interesting one to start with, and then I'm going to pull you two in. So I have recently discovered that I am an omnivert. Sometimes when I am in large crowds, that is very, very energizing for me. However, also sometimes when I am in large crowds, it's incredibly draining for me. And one of the things that I have been looking at is the neurotransmitters that are being released in both of those situations, where tangibly, externally, they appear to be a very similar two large groups that I'm hanging out, but one lifts me up and one drains me down. And I have noted for me that the level of connection in that room, if I walk into a room full of people I do not know and I know nothing, I am so hyper aware of making connection that I burn through so much of that oxytocin. Versus if there are two people in a room of 1,000 who I know, love, and absolutely have that vetted the alignment and the vibe with, I can navigate that whole room because I have someone I can go up next to and be like, hey, and then go on to the rest of the room. So for me, one of the things that really energizes me versus draining me is having those connections in those spaces. The more connection I start with, the easier it is me to build off of that. So that is one I've noticed about myself. How about you two?
Well, for me, the energy comes from, like you were saying, connection with people. And for me, I guess instead of superficial conversation, which I can do and I can do fine, but getting that next level down or the next level down, oh my gosh, that's like really incredible. So when you can explore other ideas, thoughts, opinions, that energizes me too. And just brainstorming just is wonderful. So that energizes me.
Oh, so if we're using the color palette, what I heard there is that like the pale Easter pink of surface connection, you're like, it kind of feels like I'm eating pastels. Thanks for that. But as you get deeper, each one of those layers comes with that dopamine of getting to know you more and the darker, richer connection. So it's almost like it starts as this very pastel thing, and you get to experience the growth and richness.
Yeah.
And that lifts you up. Love
Yes. That. Yes. The richer the color. Right.
Yeah. I love that. How about you, Kimberly?
I was coughing, so I missed the question.
What energizes or drains you?
Obstinate ignorance drains me.
Yeah.
Because there's no logic to it. Like it's hard for me to connect with that because I can't finding the reasoning, the advantage to that is just outside me. So when I get confronted with something like that, it doesn't make sense. But as long as I can find the logic that's underneath things, even if I disagree with it, as long as I can understand it and it makes sense to me, that's going to energize me. Yeah. But it completely drains me to be in a circumstance or an environment where things don't make sense, where things just aren't aligning.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that power of alignment. So what I heard there using the color palette is that not only when you are so busy figuring out somebody else's brain to help it make sense in your reality, it completely sucks all the dopamine out of your brain. Like it just shuts that section off. And it shuts off a lot of the serotonin at the same time, right? So all of the greens of growth and ability to navigate it, the blues and yellows together. When you can figure that out, when you get, oh, okay, like I don't agree with that, but I see where your life experience has got you to this conclusion. suddenly you're back, both of them come back in and it's that green lush growth. Okay, I can do this versus the dead, dry, barren wasteland of confusion.
Yes. And that's where I see, like, that's why as an introvert going into a room of total strangers is so exhausting, is because my brain is so busy trying to find the logic and the connections and the sense within the room that it depletes me.
So when you're, so my guess is, and this is an assumption based off that information, when you are in a room of people that you know you align with, it's all greens. We got the serotonin, we got the dopamine, oxytocin's probably sneaking up in there with the pink flowers. Like you're like, okay, this I can navigate easy.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Okay, the last question, and I will leave this for you to reflect on your own time, is how do I react under stress? So if you've seen this with challenge, if you've seen this with your energy and being drained, if you can see this, how you do stress, then you can see how you can map these responses, these natural tendencies onto this color spectrum. Where do we fall in that palette? And the cool colors of calmness or sadness, the warm colors of passion or stress, neither is good or bad, but recognizing those emotional patterns as a art piece allows us to remove that judgment. I'm not a broken person because I get exhausted when I'm confronted with having to find alignment in an entire room. Turns out I just thrive under alignment. Oh, okay, well, that's cool. It's not that I stress out because one thing is so unknown and so out of my realm. It's that I need to take care of myself so I can do new things, right? And we can practice mindfulness to strengthen that emotional regulation. And in doing that, in leveraging the strengths, first the awareness, because that allows the impact, but leveraging the strengths to align our goals with those natural tendencies to go, okay, if that's how I naturally act, here are some things that I can do. I can give myself more dopamine. I know how to create that oxytocin connection. And you start to see those patterns in yourself, which is allowing you to cultivate that new balance, recharge through your downtime or challenge comfort zones when you need to in a way that is really beneficial and engaging and supportive. Key takeaways I would like for you to take from today is that your emotions are a unique palette. They come from three basic neurotransmitters: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These genes the genes set the foundation, but your experience is really what shapes that masterpiece. And if you leverage that self-awareness to make choices that align with your natural tendencies for growth and harmony, my favorite part of this is that essentially what neuroscience did with this information is said, did you know that choosing to do things that make you happy just because they make you happy actually reinforces the regulation, production, and absorption of the neurotransmitters that let you thrive, and then impacts how it manifests your DNA like in real time? It's almost like neuroscience said, did you know the power of positive thinking? That's a real thing, though. That actually works. And if you do that, it's not going to change your DNA. That is what it is for now. What it will do is allow happiness to manifest from your DNA into your life. And I think that that is just about the coolest thing that I could possibly know. And that it is as simple as new awareness allows new action. That knowing these things means that you can make intentional choices to change them. And if you think that sounds exciting, if you think, you know what, I could have more of that in my control over my existence and my experience, that sounds delicious. We have a course for you. That's why we're doing all of this, because we agreed so much that we came together. We worked with a geneticist on flipping the conversation from illness to wellness. And that was a haul, but we did it. And we got to hear where we can now share the foundational knowledge with you so that we can, as this science grows and expand, start from a strong foundation and burst forth with more news and more information as it comes out. So at the very least, you're going to want to follow us. Follow us on LinkedIn. Make sure you sign up for something on the geneticheharmony.com or genetikedgecoaching.com. Genetic Harmony is the course, so that you can follow along. And as we learn new things, we will share new things with you. But for now, this is the beautiful foundation that will allow you to start impacting intentional change at a genetic level so that it manifests that into your life. Questions, comments, controversy?
We thank you all for joining us. This has been an absolutely incredible 4 live sessions series. We kicked everything off. So if you've missed anything, we kicked everything off with the unlocking the power of your creativity. And Madhurima took us through that. And then the second week, I talked about nature and nurture and how it is a beautiful balance between the two. And yes, there are things that are built into you, but there are things that you can do about it. And then the third week, Madhurima brought us back to neuroplasticity and how you can, your brain is designed to make adjustments and to evolve. And then today, Kara brought us home with the genetic emotional palette. Thank you so much for sharing that today. This is eye-opening. I definitely will be looking at colors in a completely different way.
Definitely, definitely.
So we look forward to seeing y'all again. We will be doing lives on the first Friday of every month. So we will look forward to seeing you next week. And as Kara said, please do follow us on LinkedIn. You can also connect with us there and ask us any questions. And we would love to continue this conversation.